Here with Northwestern State head coach Blaine McCorkle as the Demons get ready to head down to Nicholls for an 11 a.m., yes, a.m., that's not a typo, kickoff against Nicholls as we get back into last week, Coach. Something you said actually 2 weeks ago after the Stephen F. Austin game caught my eye. You were talking about a true freshman center snapping to a redshirt freshman quarterback, throwing to a redshirt freshman tight end. It was one of those moments where it just seemed like the future became now.
Yeah, it did. 2 weeks ago at Stephen F. Austin, I think on both sides of the ball we played 7 true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, so 14 total in the game. And then this past week at Commerce, we played more than that. I think it was 8 on offense and probably about the same on defense. So we're pushing that 15, 16 mark overall with guys getting significant reps that will have 3 years of eligibility after this year. So in the moment, that's tough because some guys have to go through some lumps, but those guys are in there fighting and playing hard and being really productive at the same time. So that's exciting. But it's encouraging to look down the road too and see what some of those plays will look like 2, 3, 4 years down the road when those guys are more experienced and really are a part of the program for a long period of time and know kind of what expectation is and things like that. So it's tough in the moment, because nobody wants to play that guys that young because all in all you're just not ready. But at the same time, I'm proud of the guys getting there and fighting and doing what they're doing.
As you say that, growing pains, you're going through that, but those guys, if they're in there, they tend to grow up a lot faster than if they're doing it on the practice field on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
Yeah, they do. There's no experience like game experience, that's for sure. And regardless of how old those guys may or may not be, when you go in the game and play for Northwestern State, there's a standard that you have to play by, and there's an expectation, and we expect those guys to play at a really high level and compete and be physical and do what they're asked to do because, we're not sitting them in there just to pat them on the back and say, good job, freshman. We're sitting there to try to win a football game. And they know that, and that's the expectation, and they take that serious as they do kind of go through that process.
For you, how do you balance the fact that you've got to stay in the moment, but you mentioned it, 8, 10, 15 games down the line, when you dream on these guys just a little bit, where do you strike that balance? How do you strike that balance?
Well, you absolutely have to stay in the moment. It's about, last week was about beating Texas A&M Commerce, and right now, this week, it's all about beating Nicholls and giving ourselves the best chance to do that. And we expect those guys to show up and try to win that game Saturday at 11 o'clock in Thibodaux. But when you remove yourself for a moment, maybe when you're driving home at night, kind of processing it all, you do kind of think about, the fact that these guys are going to be around here for a long time. And, the Northwestern State faithful will get used to hearing a lot of these names, and that's exciting. And they'll get to watch them grow into some really, really great players, and great players make great teams in the future.
It looked like there was a lot of growing up that happened just in the fourth quarter from the offensive standpoint in terms of making plays, staying on the field, and driving. That's got to be at least some sort of, if not momentum, some confidence built for this weekend.
It does. I think our last 2 drives were 87 and 92 yards for touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. And that does give our offense a lot of confidence. It kind of shows them that, hey, we can do this. We can't wait 4 quarters to do it. We got to do it for 4 quarters and not wait until the 4th. But I think those were a couple moments for our offense to really kind of come together, get some confidence, get some excitement, and compete. Regardless of what the score was, when Amaz scored there at the end of the game with 14 seconds and he's fighting, stretching to get that ball across the goal line, he was fighting to compete all the way to the end. And our sideline got excited and people were fired up for him. Regardless of the situation, every play you got to compete. It's one play at a time for 60 minutes. And I think that was a good indication that the guys are fighters and they are competing all the way down to the wire.
Well, you'll go compete against a team that I know you hold, even though you're new to the conference, new to this job, 7 games in. You hold in very high regard in Nicholls, a team that you see possibly a lot of your future teams in.
Yeah, I do. I think way back there, before Coach Rebo got there, Nicholls maybe had the longest losing streak in the country. If I'm not mistaken, they might have hit that mark twice. I don't know that for sure, but I know they had some pretty rough patches, and there's a lot of similar history for them as to where we are right now and where we're going. And you look at what Coach Rebo has done there and what he's built, the model that he's done it with is exactly the model we're trying to do it with here. And that's, Louisiana high school kids that stay, grow, and develop. If you look at their roster, they've probably got as few transfers as anybody in our conference, and that's why they're winning, because they're growing and developing players. They've got their handful of transfers too. They've got probably 20 on the roster, where the last couple of weeks we played people with north of 50, and it kind of shows that the model is keep players and develop them, and keep players from, nearby Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi that are excited about being here. And they just turn into a better product down the road.
Speaking of that, it will be a bit of a unique challenge, maybe. 11 o'clock kickoff for the first time for this program in a couple of years, I believe 3 years. to play this early. I know coaches love it. They'd play at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning if you let them. What are some of the differences in terms of just besides kickoff time?
Well, you do a little bit more work on Friday than you do Saturday because you don't have all day Saturday to do that last walkthrough, that last meeting. So you got to make sure you got everything covered. Pregame meals a little bit earlier. Guys will get a good workout with Coach Smeltzer that morning to get the nervous system firing. But other than that, you wake up and you eat and you go play. So there's nothing really that different. I think we're staying about 45 minutes away from Thibodaux, so we'll have to wake up, eat, and then have a little bus ride to get there. But they got to do the same thing. They got to wake up and play too. So you're kind of in the same camp there as far as once game day hits and you're there, you're kind of both on the same schedule. So we're excited about that. We'll play anytime, anywhere, any place. And 11 o'clock will be nice. We can hopefully get a win, drive home, and be home before the sun goes down.
Other question there, is Jason Smeltzer the team alarm clock? Just watching him at the Demon Walk, I think he could wake a few people up.
He can do it. He can do whatever we ask him to do. He's a team player.
Coach, thanks for your time.
Thank you.